Grew up just like any American kid in the 70s, eating canned vegetables and processed cereals and things like that. So pretty much I grew up like most people did. I was healthy most of my life for the most part. I never had real long stamina though. And even though I had really good bursts of energy, I didn't have stamina. Even in my childhood, even though I was in really good shape and all that, I played a lot of sports and things. But even as a kid, I didn't really like meat very much. I was never a big meat eater. And my mom used to kind of get irritated with me not wanting to eat meat. And I would just kind of not put it on my plate and hope no one noticed. But when I was 18 and I was out on my own, I just stopped eating meat for the most part. I mean, I still ate some. So I was vegetarian off and on since I was 18. And I worked at a vegetarian restaurant that was really neat. It was like this really cool hippie restaurant that I worked at when I was young. And so they taught me a lot about how to make really good tofu and brown rice and all that good stuff. So I was eating a little healthier at that point.
So what did you eat? Like, did you used to eat donuts? Did you used to, I mean, we talked about eating pasta.
Right, well, we ate a lot of spaghetti growing up too. We ate spaghetti probably 3 or 4 times a week. And yeah, we ate a lot of spaghetti. We didn't really eat donuts. My mom didn't really buy donuts, but we made up for it with processed cereal, you know? Yeah. So it's just like Fruity Pebbles and honeycombs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so for breakfast it would normally be, either cereal, or I used to eat 8 pieces of toast. That was my breakfast in the morning, because a whole loaf of white bread you could squeeze down into a tiny little ball because it's really nothing other than gluten. So I could eat 8 pieces of toast in the morning. That's what I ate in the morning. For lunch, I usually ate, if I was at school, I just ate whatever junk they served at at school, which was crap. As far as dinner, my mom was good about like making sure there was a meat and some potatoes and some vegetables, whether the vegetables were something like canned vegetables, you know? Everybody grew up with that.
Yeah.
We didn't really eat fresh vegetables that much. So that was kind of what we ate. And then for snacks, we would eat chips and stuff, but my mom didn't even really buy that too much. I don't know. So it's kind of hard to remember.
So you grew up in the traditional American lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you used to think it was healthy?
I didn't really think about it. I honestly didn't think about it. I know I drank a lot of milk. That's right. I did drink a lot of milk as a kid. I think that was part of my stamina issues, drinking all that dairy. Because I did think milk was really good for me.
Yeah.
And I remember in 1996 I went to a naturopath and he said, "Do you drink milk?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I was real proud of like, yeah, I drink a lot of milk. And he said, "Yeah, knock that off right away." And I was like, this guy's wacky. You know, it just seems so odd. No, we need milk. You know, milk is what builds bones and all that. Of course, throughout the years I learned different. Milk deteriorates bones, you know.
So where was the switching point? Like, what happened to make you start looking for healthy alternatives?
Well, when I was 26, 27, I met my soon-to-be husband, and we knew we were serious and we knew we wanted to have kids. And I started cleaning up my diet and really staying with the vegetarian even more so. And then I didn't become vegan until probably like 2004 or something. It wasn't right away. Because I still kind of felt the dairy was something, you know? I still felt it was okay.
Yeah.
At that point. So, but I wanted to clean up my diet and prepare myself to have babies, you know? I wanted to prepare my body and be healthy so I could have the best pregnancy and delivery and all that. So, not long after we got married, in fact, while we were planning our wedding, I started getting really sick, and it was Lyme disease. And I was a park ranger, so I pulled ticks off of me all the time, and I knew I had Lyme disease, but no one would listen. The doctors wouldn't listen, you know. They wouldn't even test me for it. So I had to go from doctor to doctor, and finally I got tested for it, and it still came up negative. So I went 4 years with untreated Lyme, and I just went downhill and downhill and downhill. I got to the point where I couldn't find my way home from work because my memory, the Lyme was in my brain very bad. I couldn't find my way home from work. I couldn't figure out if I was going to work or coming home from work. I had to look at my clothes and see if they were dirty, and that kind of told me, do I have to go home or to work?
Wow.
And I ended up losing my job, and physically I couldn't do a whole lot. I got to the point where I couldn't make it up my stairs where I lived, and I lived in an old lock tender's house at the park that I was a park ranger at, and it was 2 stories going up to the apartment above the museum, and I couldn't make it up the stairs. And we had to look for a house on 1 level. So we bought a house on 1 level in the mountains with clean air and clean water. We were real happy about our choice, you know, but I still continued to go downhill. And I thought I was going to end up in a wheelchair. We thought we were going to be building a ramp on the house, you know. So that was kind of depressing. By that time I was maybe 35. I was about 35, 36, and it was really bad, you know. So at that point, around 2005, I guess it was, I don't remember exactly when, 2004, I started checking more into veganism after going to a couple conferences and stuff, and I realized that the dairy is still holding me back, so I did that. And during that time, God, actually it was earlier than that, when I was going to school. I went to school for naturopathy because I wanted to find out how I can get healthy, because I wasn't getting any help anywhere. I started checking into raw, but I was pretty much learned how to become a raw food chef. I went for 3 weeks down in Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, with Jackie and Gideon Graff. I learned how to become a raw food chef, and that was really fun. And I started finding my way back, you know, because I became vegan, a vegetarian, then vegan and all that. I did start feeling a lot better. Then I started going more into raw after reading Gabriel Cousens' books, which was one of my coursework books. It was Conscious Eating. Really good book. Conscious Eating is a great book. And he's a medical doctor, and he's studied all this stuff, and some of the best books written are by him, also Spiritual Nutrition. But his book was real good, and that got me into more raw. But I was doing a lot of high-fat raw and gourmet raw and stuff like that. And I was having a lot of trouble still. I had the rosacea really bad, and I had the real red, like the lupus kind of butterfly rash on my face. And you know, if I look back on all these pictures, I still have it. And sometimes I do now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes back on me. If I eat too much fat, if I eat too much nuts and seeds, I get that back again. I was at Arnold's Way, and I was asking him, I said, you know, I don't get it. I'm doing all this raw, and I'm not feeling better. I mean, I'm feeling somewhat better, but not really as good as I want to feel. And he told me to stop eating the nuts and seeds, to get off the fat, like pretty much altogether, other than a little avocado. And I started doing that. Then I read 80-10-10, and that changed me a lot. So that was good.
For me personally, it's kind of been a struggle. You know, it's like, it's a struggle to eat this way. You're giving so much up, you know, passing up the junk food. And a lot of people I see, like even family members, they don't want to do it because they get so much joy from food.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the question is, do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth it to give up the junk food for this kind of lifestyle?
I think so. I guess what happens is you start becoming more in tune to your body, and then you know what you're gonna feel like after you eat something. So if I go and eat, even if it's a vegan donut, it's a donut. I'm eating a donut, and I know that I'm gonna probably feel crappy, and I'm gonna have shakiness, internal shakiness at night from eating the wheat. And I say to myself, do I mind if I feel like crap tonight? Is it that important to me? And I make a trade-off. If some days it's like, yeah, I want the donut, so I'll do it. You know, I don't really do donuts that much though, but like other examples would be, I don't know. What would be an example? Cake at a birthday, like my niece's birthday party or something.
Right.
So yeah, okay, I'm gonna eat the cake, and I know I'm gonna pay for it, but I'm gonna eat it, and that's all to it. And you make peace with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't beat myself up when I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, and I eat really well compared to most people. And not that you want to compare yourself to most people, but I eat really well. And you asked me about like what foods made you sick and what foods made you better. You did ask about that. Now I know I feel my best when I'm all raw. I know I feel my best when I'm all raw and low fat. I know that. That's a given. There's no doubt about it in my mind. That's when I feel my best. When I'm off of that, that's when I start not feeling so good. But there's the emotional component to health, and there's all these different things. You know, you have what you're eating, you have your physical activity, you have your rest, you have your emotional well-being, your mental state, your spiritual beliefs. There's so much that comes into health that has sometimes, like, if you leave the eating out completely, you know, I see people who eat so much crap and they're happy and they're fine and they play sports and all this thing, and I think, how is this possible? When I struggle, and if I eat a donut, I'm laid out for 2 days. How is this possible, you know? So
Right.
there's way more to it than just the food. There's way more to it. And depending on what kind of childhood you had, you know, what kind of relationships you had, what kind of traumas you may have had in your life, there's so much that adds into health that you have to consider. So it's not really all about the food, though. Food is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess.
But is it worth it to like switch to, is it worth it to go that journey, basically?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And then the thing is, you don't, most people don't go on this kind of journey unless they have something that knocked them down. I mean, you almost have to be completely knocked down like I was, and like so many people who I've met here, all these stories, everyone's got a story, but so many people who are here today had so many issues here at the Woodstock Fruit Festival that brought them to this lifestyle. Most people don't just do it to say, hey, I want to be cool and I just want to walk around and eat fruit and live under the sunshine, and you know, it's really not that way, because most people don't really like change. Most people are kind of happy and content in the way they're doing things. So yeah, I think it's worth it, and most people are here for a reason, a real reason.
Would you say that this lifestyle gives you hope when you have no hope?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing.
It is. And you know, I made a bunch of friends here at Woodstock Fruit Festival that kind of help you through these things, and I help them through these things, and you have this community. And you know, social media has its place in this kind of world. And you feel connected with these other people, and we're all posting what we're eating for breakfast, we're all posting what we eat for lunch and for dinner, and it gives you inspiration, and it keeps you in there. It keeps you balanced, it keeps you focused. Yeah. So yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it. Absolutely. And I know if I'd stayed on my other path, I probably wouldn't be around anymore.
Right.
Because if I knew that I was going to continue my life at 30 years old in the shape I was in, there was no way I was going to live another 30 years or 45, 50 years. There was no way.
Yeah.
Because as much pain as I was in and as horrible as I felt, I probably would have taken my own life. And it doesn't mean that I don't like life at all, but I know I couldn't continue to live in that way.
Understand that.
So I was blessed to find this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any last words?
Any last words?
Any last words?
I'd like some durian.
Me too.
No, I guess the only words I would say would be like, really look at all aspects of health, not just the food. Really work on yourself. Work on what you're holding on to that you want to let go of. Work on relationships. Work on making things right. If there's things in your life that are wrong, or if there's things you've done to people that you feel bad about that's kind of eating you away in here, make it right. Just make it right. Everything in your life that feels wrong, make it right. You have the power to make it right.
Right. I agree.